buildings. We're going to take you to her so that she can tell us what members of Parliament at Parliament have to say in regard to that particular budget that has been presented. Over to you, Kamche. Good evening.
Briefing or media address by the Cabinet Secretary, Treasury and National Planning culminates today's events on the presentation of the budget highlights for the 2025-2026 financial year. And the Cabinet Secretary, as we have witnessed, gave his presentation in more than an hour, of course, indicating various issues, including the economic performance, as well as even the revenue-raising measures. Remember, at this point, the government is seeking to finance the 4.2 trillion shillings budget. So basically, this particular day actually was meant to, of course, enlighten Kenyans on what exactly is contained in the budget for the 2025-2026 financial year. So many issues around the revenue-raising measures. We can recall that the Cabinet Secretary indicated categorically that he is not planning, or the government is not planning in any way to increase taxes or bring on board new tax measures. So that must have been a relief to many Kenyans, because you can recall that there has been fears or concerns from the public with the upcoming finance bill that is set to be considered from next week, now that we already have the budget in place. But there are a number of issues that have been raised. For now, I want to bring on board various members of Parliament who were in the chambers during the presentation of the budget this afternoon, at least to hear from them. How do they feel about the budget? What exactly is their take home? Karibu sana Mhesh.
Thank you very much.
The budget presentations have just been concluded.
Yes.
You were in the chamber.
Yes,
you had everything that the Cabinet Secretary said.
Yes.
What is your take home? Let's start from there.
I think for me, the highlight of this budget is how, as a country, we seem to be digging deeper into the debt crisis. Listening to the budget, we have a deficit of 932 billion, of which 227 will be financed through external sources, but a cool 600 billion will be financed through local borrowing or domestic borrowing. And the effect of that is two. One, we crowd out the SME out of the ability to borrow from banks, which of course slows down economic growth. And then number two, that has an effect of raising interest rates. So again, we seem to be exacerbating the debt crisis that we have been in as a country. We were at 11.5 trillion shillings. Now with this additional borrowing, we now move to something like 12.5 trillion shillings. So for me, I still feel the Cabinet Secretary does not have a clear roadmap out of the debt crisis that we continue to face as a country. And this debt crisis is the one that is slowing down economic growth. Out of the 4.3 trillion shillings budget, at least 1.1 will be going to just servicing debt interest, not even principal, just the interest alone. So how as a country will we be able to grow? The development budget is only 600 billion shillings, and you can even see that is hardly enough to even deal with some of our stalled roads and some of our different stalled projects. Again, I have seen an attempt to deal with some functions which we thought were devolved, like agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture has been given 42 billion shillings for policies and programs. That money should be going to the counties. So again, we are saying, this government is playing a lip service, to devolution. But overall, we continue seeing the economic challenges that we see. We do not see any tangible programs that will create unemployment. We do not see any tangible programs that will ease out the issues that the Gen Zs raised in this country, last year.
So, as maybe in 1 minute, so you are saying there is nothing good in this budget?
Well, the fact that they never raised, significant taxes is a good thing. But even if we don't raise the taxes, how do we rein in on expenditure so that one, we create headroom for investments, because it is investments that are going to create jobs. So long as the budget is by and large a recurrent expenditure budget, we are going nowhere.
Thank you so much. Well, issues of expenditure. Hi, how are you?
Fine.
You were in the chamber. You heard what exactly the presentations on the budget highlights were. What is your take home? What is your highlight?
My take home is a very carefully considered budget. It's tried to keep the taxes down. That is actually quite important. Started by no tax increase. He has just looked at processes, so that is important. He has also said that they have tried the revenue to keep the revenue down so that it can meet the taxes, but keep it within the limits so that you don't have a huge deficit. But to me, where I'm actually most impressed, and I hope things will work out, because this is a budget, whether the money will be raised, that's another issue, is in the health sector. Because the health sector in this country has actually had a major problem in three major areas. One is the management of human resource. That is the staff and the workers. You know, the strikes we have been having have been a lot. Two, there's been now the issue of SHA. When the NHIF was scrapped and SHA came in, it has not worked well and people are not concerned. The other one is the issue of availability of drugs in the health facilities. And now he has addressed those areas, because the issue of human resource, the workers, he has actually put 6.1 billion to address the issue of the UHC, the workers that have been actually going on the street, parliament. So he has put 6.1 billion to sort out their problem. He has put 4.3 billion to sort out the issue of interns. Again, interns have been a big issue. So I think that's a good thing. In the area of SHA has had a problem, it still has problems, because SHA consists of three funds. NHF was just one fund, contribution. And now with SHA, what we've been having before was just the shift, which is what is contributed. We haven't been putting much on the primary health care fund and the emergency care fund, which is to come from the tax. And now this time he has actually put that down, so that we now expect that things should improve if the management is okay. Because before, we had only the contributions. And all the people who are registering were expecting services. But only out of the 22 million he was talking about, only 4 million had paid the contribution. So the other couldn't possibly get any service. But now, the 13 billion for the primary care fund, the 8 billion for the emergency should cover that. So that, in terms of funding, is a good thing. The issue with KEMSA since the time of COVID, KEMSA had a problem of funding of drugs. They don't have enough drugs. The fill rate is low. That means you ask for drugs and you don't get all. And the turnaround, it takes too long. Now they have been given about 1.5 billion, he has indicated, and more. So in all, in terms of funding, I think he has addressed the health sector well. What is now remaining is the management of the sector.
Thank you so much. And being the chair of the health committee in the National Assembly, meaning you will be following up on the allocation?
Definitely, we will follow up on the implementation of this. We have to look at how they're doing it. But another very important thing is how the county government organize themselves, because most of the health services are offered by the county governments. So we hope there'll be adequate coordination to give the services.
Thank you so much. Well, I've read opinions from members of the parliament. All right, okay. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, fine. Maybe your take home from today's presentation by the Ministry of Treasury and National Planning.
As required under the Constitution, the Cabinet Secretary has come to highlight the budget estimates, has come to highlight revenue-raising measures, and also taken the opportunity to expound on the challenges and the opportunities facing this economy. We appreciate the economy of Kenya has grown tremendously, and is now the 6th largest economy in Africa. But of course, we have boundless opportunities to do far much more. Many times, and this has continued the trend, is disheartening and disappointing that the productive sectors have not been given adequate funding.
By productive sector, which one?
We are looking at the manufacturing sector, industries, value addition, and the rest. And the Vision 2030, manufacturing sector ought to have contributed 15% of the GDP, close to this time. The latest results announced this year it has shrunk to about 5%. We had expected the government, as the executive, will make concerted efforts to ensure there's enough allocation or budgetary allocation towards enablers of industry and manufacturing, because that's where jobs are created. If you don't increase consumption, and if you don't increase consumption, there are no taxes, and the economy continues to shrink.
Overall in the budget?
It is a balanced budget focusing on the social sector by very little on the development sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Allow me to bring on board Likoni, Member of Parliament. Vipi Mhesh?
Salama sana.
Umekuwa ndani ya chemba, umesikia mazungumzo ama makadirio ya bajeti yalivyosomwa na waziri. Ni yapi ambayo unaweza sema haya ndio mazuri yetu?
Kwanza mimi nataka nimshukuru na nimpongeze sana waziri kwa sababu ametengeza ile budget ambayo tunasema ni balance budget. Katika mambo ya taxation na ameangalia pia ataboresha sekta gani ili tuweze kuwa na uchumi ambao uko bora. Tukiangalia kabisa tumeona kama kilimo samawati ambacho sasa ni kilimo ambacho kilikuwa kimesaulika hapo nyuma, lakini sasa hivi kimewekewa bajeti ya 8.2 billion. Hiyo ni kumaanisha kilimo hichi kitakachoboreshwa, watu wengi watapata kazi, wavuvi wetu wataweza kuvua katika hali ya kisasa ile tunasema commercialized fishing. Tunajua pia mabaharia na zile kazi za ubaharia, vijana wengi wataweza kupata ajira hapo. Hasa tukiangalia kama ile fish park ya Mombasa ikiweza kumalizwa, takriban vijana 1000 wataweza kuandikwa kazi. Tukiangalia jambo jingine katika afya, na zile referral hospital zote zimewekewa bajeti ya pesa, zimeongezwa ili kusudi waweze kuweka zile machine na vile vifaa ambavyo vinahitajika katika kupigana na janga hili la mambo ya kansa. Alafu pia tukiangalia kule feri tumekuwa na shida sana, na tumeona tutatengezewa ramp pale Mtongwe, kivuko cha Mtongwe. Kwa hivyo hicho kinaweza kusaidiana na kivuko cha Likoni, hivyo basi msongamano utaweza kupungua. Tukiangalia pia katika ile mambo tunaita social protection, tunaona kuna wazee. Kwa hivyo wazee wengi wataingia katika hiyo shughuli ya kupata fedha kutoka kwa serikali. Pia wale watoto mayatima wataweza kuingizwa hapo, na wale pia walemavu wataweza kupata pesa ili ziweze kuhakimu katika. Unaona bajeti kubwa sana imewekwa katika elimu, pesa nyingi sana. Hivyo basi ile tunasema free basic education itaweza kupatikana, pia interns teachers wataweza kwa pale, recruitment ya teachers na scholarship pia kwa TVET na mambo mengine. Kwa hivyo skills pia kwa vijana wetu zitaweza kupatikana. Na reforms za sekta zetu za agriculture, mambo ya fertilizer itakuwa rahisi, tunaona mambo ya sugar, upande wa sukari pia itakuwa rahisi, na mambo ya vilimo kama kahawa na majani chai. Kwa hivyo tunasema wamejaribu, na pia hakuna increase ama hakuna kuongezwa kwa VAT ya taxes. Tumesema Mkenya ameumia zaidi, kwa hivyo sasa hakuna kuumiza wa Kenya. Tuangalie mambo mengine. Hii system ya procurement pia ni muhimu, itaondoa ufisadi na pesa nyingi tutaweza kuzieka, na expenditure pia itapunguzwa. Imezungumziwa vile expenditure ya serikali katika sekta nyingi zitatolewa. Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema kongole waziri, kongole rais wa taifa la Kenya kwa bajeti ya mwaka huu na mwaka 2026.
They had said that this will be that said that will be one of a kind budget. Do you also share the same sentiments as Mheshimiwa Mishi?
Yes, first thank you for inviting me. My name is Basi, Liata Member of Parliament. The budget was fairly balanced today. If you look at the sectors like education, it's fairly budgeted. The exam for students has been catered for. If you look at the youth, kazi mtaani imerudi, and that is something to be proud of. What I would say in the budget, health has not been well factored. Of the total budget, 5% has gone to health, which is reasonably very low. So we should consider in the near future to actually revise upward money for health, so that we have doctors back to hospitals and the patients to be well taken care of in our hospitals. Yes.
On the issue, maybe you could also talk about the issue, whether you think that our expenditure has been catered for in terms of the debt repayment and all that. Do you feel that the budget has catered for that, or we still have a wider gap between expenditure and development allocations?
No. In developed countries, the ratio between expenditure money and money for development is supposed to be 30-70, meaning 30% should go to development and the 70% to recurrent expenditures, because these are advanced economies. In Kenya, we are developing economy. So our ratio of expenditure to development should actually be 40-60. 40% to go to recurrent expenditures and the 60%, if possible, to development. But in principle, what we have seen in most budgets, not this budget alone, we are still falling short to attain the recommended ratio of expenditure to development, because rarely are we getting to even 40% for development money. We are normally struggling to reach about 10 or 15 of our money to go to development, and that is slowing the economic growth. Our growth is still not as is anticipated as per the parameters of economics. And that's why I'm saying in the near future, we need to cut on expenditures and come up with a reasonable budget that focuses more on development. But I would say CS Band has tried, being his maiden budget. You know, that is the first budget he has read as a CS for finance and planning. So I would say he has tried. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, more sentiments from the members of National Assembly. Karibu sana. Also, maybe you could share with us what your highlights were as the CS for Treasury was presenting the budget estimates this afternoon.
Well, thank you so much. Maybe mine, let me not dwell on the expenditure, at least many people have said on that, but let me try to look at the revenue side. Looking at the budget of around 4.3 trillion for the first time in the Republic, it confirms that our budget is increasingly growing. It is growing because of the demand in terms of the needs. Looking at the servicing debt is becoming a challenge. 1.3 trillion is becoming a huge burden for Kenya. Personnel emolument is also growing. It is so demanding because if you look at almost 2.something trillion, it's going to personnel emolument. Of course, if you combine what counties and national government, it's becoming another burden, and it's a fixed cost that has to be serviced. Looking at what is going to devolution again is another issue. If you consolidate all of them together, we have a very thin space for development. At the same time, you reflect that space of development, it also balances with the budget deficit. It means then we have to borrow. Otherwise, we are making a budget to just service debts, interest. We are making a budget to pay salaries, which is becoming a big challenge. Another issue now that is this budget is going to call on us, especially the revenue-raising team and measures. That is Kenya Revenue and the CS National Treasury. They have to pull up their socks. Looking at the shortfall by March, we had missed a target by almost 200 billion. I don't know by the end of this month where we will be. And as we are projecting up, it means we are also growing expectation on the local ordinary revenue. That is internal funding and A&A. This one speaks a lot to us. If we have to finance this ambitious budget, that we are driven by the demand, not driven by the desire to develop and expand our scope of economic activities that revenue and improve on our GDP, reduce on our dependency on import, industrialization, they have to do something. They have to make sure they reduce beverages, leakages, institute and inculcate culture of accountability and responsibility on those who are collecting, reduce the aspect of corruption, ensure that the system is put in place, both technological system and the human system are sound enough to give us the right ordinary revenue. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, more views and opinions from the members of Hello, how are you? So maybe you could share with us your opinions with regards to the budget presentation by the Cabinet Secretary. This is a miss and this is a hit.
Thank you very much. My name is Dido Raso. I'm the MP for Saku and Marsabit. I think generally the budget it was good. Largely for me, it addresses the important microeconomic policies in terms of the dollar, in terms of the prices of fuel, the growth in agriculture. At this point in time in the history of Kenya, what we want is a stable economy. It may not grow, although they said the economy will grow by 4.1%, but the indicators are good that we need a lot of stability. Then the other thing of significance is the issue of borrowing. What the CS assured the country that they will attempt to reduce in borrowing. Down development and the money in the pockets of Kenyans is paying debt, both internal and external. And for me, the more money going to development, it means Kenyans will be having more money in their pockets. The final issue, which is also good, is Kenya Kwanza in the last budget, 24-25, because the finance bill was thrown out of the window. The economy was really struggling. But this time round, if Kenyans are going to rally and they are going to consolidate their effort, it simply means we are going to pull in one direction. So those are the good things. But as a pastoralist, people who are really concerned about the fate of the pastoralist people, the issue of drought, livestock, water, we really need to look at what are areas of marginalization and where the government can put more resources if and when it's available.
We heard that 7 billion has been allocated for equalization fund.
Yes, equalization fund 7 billion. But the way currently equalization fund is being distributed, or the way it is being operationalized, they are doing penny packeting, putting 5 million here, 7 million there, 10 million, 2 million. In the end, equalization fund will only make a difference for our people if it is put in starlight projects. That will have significant effect on the lives of the different communities in those areas. But in the current system, some of us, we are not happy. We are saying, don't penny packet it. You rather put it in hospital, in water, in infrastructure, so that after 1 year you're able to see equalization fund this year has done this. So those pillar projects is what people will talk about, not 5,000 in Maram or 2,000 in water. At the end of the day, it doesn't have much significance for us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, all right, we still have more sentiments or opinions from the members of parliament. Karibu sana, Muhesh. Maybe you could just tell us, what do you feel about the budget highlights for this year? What are the hits and misses from the Ministry of Treasury?
I would like to congratulate John Buddy for a job well done. And I think first, the greatest win is to the employed people who run payslips. And I know they have complained for a long time that every year the budget has been coming and eating into their pocket. And now this year it has just given them a break and said, relax, you people, there will be no more intrusion or will not invade into the payslips. And that's a big thing. I think the other biggest win is the sector in education. We have had a considerably huge increase in the allocation in education. We had a huge problem last year with the construction of infrastructure projects and infrastructure creation for grade 9. We had a problem employing teachers. We had a huge problem of capitation. Capitation had gone to 87 shillings per child. Well, an improvement from the previous 82, 84 since 2020, but still has been not very good. So, education sector has really reaped big. Health sector, especially issues that are not covered by, especially SHA. We have primary health care, which is offered by government, and what we call critical care, chronic and critical care, and emergencies, which are also covered by the government. And that has really won big. It has ripped big in the budget. And that has been a problem in the past. In fact, at times we are not able to differentiate between what SHA should take care of and what government should take care of. So previously, that money has been very little, and that's why the government that's why there was a lot of noise around SHA, because a lot of times you go to the hospital and you don't understand why there's no, and the blame has always gone to SHA. But I think now, having gotten that big incremental budget allocation, is going to help the striking. You've been seeing teachers, doctors all over town, and the monies that they had been asking for, and the CBAs that had been formed in the past that were coming to mature last year, which were making the doctors be on the road, are now going to be honored. So I feel that we have done that, and it's good. The third sector is agriculture sector, and I think especially the tea sector has really benefited because why we have not been able to do value addition for tea properly is because packaging was very expensive in Kenya, because packaging materials used to attract so many taxes. We used to attract VAT at 60 at 25% and customs at 35%. I am happy that when Buddy went to the meeting with other EAC ministers, they agreed that we are going to be on remission for all packaging materials that especially appertain to food grade, what we call paper craft that appertains to tea, and all other packaging materials. So that is a really big win. And I think generally it was a good budget. And also I must congratulate Buddy for bringing in some sanity and making this budget feel like a Mwananchi budget. It didn't feel like it was something that has just been imposed on the people, and I guess there has been very many consultations and public participation in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The sentiments, just some of the sentiments that we have received from the members of parliament here. Remember, they will be following up on the implementation of the allocations that have been put aside or set aside for the different sectors or ministries, because most of them are in different committees that will be oversighting the implementation of some of the projects in regards to the allocation that has been set aside with today's or this afternoon's budget highlight. So we now look forward to the appropriations bill coming up next week, as well as the finance bill also coming up for consideration at the National Assembly from next week. So basically that's it here from Parliament. My name is Kamche Menza. I hand it over back to you in studio, Regina Manyara. And of course, on behalf of the whole team that has been here since morning, my colleague Gladys Mungai and my producer Mugo, Jen, as well as Hemstone and Evel, all of them, those are cameramen who have been behind all the scenes, as well as Doris Gitonga, who has been the director and producer of this whole event. It is, or rather we say thank you for watching KBC Channel 1. I hand it over back to you in studio, Ray Manyara, for other analysis or even normal programming. Bye for now.